Am I the a-hole for not inviting a stranger our pastor told us to invite over for Christmas Eve with just my husband and I? So this is a throwback, and the people involved besides my husband are no longer a part of my life at all. But therapy is weird, and while working through something else entirely, the memory of this situation popped out from wherever it was laying dormant in my brain and hasn't gone away since. So I shall ask you, oh dear citizens of Reddit, am I the a-hole here, or was the pastor out of pocket? Let me... out of pocket, yeah. Let me set the scene. It is Christmas Eve, early 2000s. It is below freezing outside, and snow is blowing lightly around. My husband and I are alone, but we'll be going to visit family the next day. We used to have our celebration on Christmas Eve, just us, and then go to the big family event the next day. There was a guy our pastor was helping out, around 20 years old. My spouse and I were early 20s as well. The only thing the pastor knew for certain about us was we didn't have kids, and we didn't have any plans for Christmas Eve that involved other people. Or maybe he didn't know the second part and was just assumed. Unclear. Anyway, Hubs and I went out for our annual Chinese food meal. Hey, nice. And to hang out looking at Christmas lights. Then planned to watch a movie or something at home. Well, at dinner, husband got a call from our pastor telling him he'd sent the guy we didn't know, we'll call him Brian, to our house because we weren't doing anything and thought we should be kind and share our Christmas Eve with the man. Let me be so clear, this was never discussed prior. Yeah, now that's just insane. Oh my... Hey, I just sent this guy to your house. Excuse me? Well, he sent the guy to our house on a dang bicycle in a freezing temperatures and was irate when we didn't leave our food to go visit with Brian. We were lectured about Christian love and how we're not being good Christians by not inviting Brian along. What? So we eventually go home. Brian is on our couch. Presumably he was just told to go in. That's insane. He could have just robbed you. What? We lived way out in the country, so the doors weren't locked. I'm shaking with anger. I tersely said goodnight and went to bed because I was nodding with a relative stranger when my little introverted heart had been promised one night of peace out of the week of chaos. All this was reported back to the pastor by Brian, who was so hurt and put out by us not being there when he arrived. Oh my god, that's ridiculous, dude. Nothing of it, honestly, until months later I asked the pastor for a letter or recommendation, which he willingly gave, only to find out he wrote horrible things about my character and my uncharitable nature. Based? What? Based, I can only assume. Oh, I thought I was writing like, based. Like, what? Anyway, based, I can only assume on the event since I served regularly at the church and helped quite a lot of people, if I'm being honest, which this pastor would have known. So, am I the a-hole? I really don't think she is. That's, a pastor's the a-hole, if anything. Like, what? Yeah, let me just, I understand, like, wanting to do good deeds and everything, but the pastor could have taken Brian to his home instead of sending him to his people's home. That's just insane. Weird how Jesus stood at the door and knocked and waited for consent, but your pastor apparently had no idea what consent is and felt so entitled to volunteer your time and home and safety. Why the hell didn't he take Brian in? What the fuck? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's exactly what I said. Because apparently his family time's more valid than mine since we didn't have kids. Also, we were same age as Brian, so obviously you're supposed to be besties. Bro, not the a-hole. This is called home invasion. Even though my pastor is supposed to be respected, Brian should have used his brain and knocked on the door before going in, especially if you haven't met him before. This is way beyond common decency. Actually, though, dude, that's just crazy. Am I the a-hole for giving my toddler the iPad in a restaurant while my in-laws judged me? Interesting. We went out for dinner last night with my husband's parents and his sister. My 3-year-old was getting cranky, and I could already feel a meltdown brewing. I tried crayons, snacks, everything. Nothing worked. So I pulled out the iPad. Oh god, an iPad, child! No! I let her watch some cartoons with the volume low. She immediately calmed down and started eating. Yeah, that Cocomelon is like crack to children, I swear. They hear Cocomelon and their heads will go whip around. My mother-in-law gave me the look, followed by passive-aggressive, kids these days don't know how to behave at the table anymore. Sister-in-law nodded and added, back in our day, we didn't need screens to sit still. Are you cool, bitch? Anyway, I just smiled and kept feeding my child, who was now quiet and content. Later, my husband said I could have at least tried harder for giving him the screens. I feel like I did what I had to do to make dinner go smoothly for everyone. Yes, I get the screen time isn't ideal, but honestly, a peaceful dinner without a tantrum felt like a win. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for using an iPad to keep my toddler calm at a restaurant? Nah. Honestly, if I was one of your family members and your kid started having a tantrum, like, I'd understand, but I'd also be like, man, come on. I hate kids screaming, so that's real. Huh? You're the a-hole if your kid wasn't wearing headphones. Oh, you know what? That's real. If your kid can't behave without watching a tablet in public when they aren't ready to go to that kind of restaurant, take them outside to get the wiggles out. What? Don't make other pages as your child's choice of entertainment. You know what? That is fair. That's fair. Giving into a child by handing them a scream when they get fussy is 100% a behavior trap. Unwanted behavior is reinforced by the environment, forming a cycle that is hard to break. Please Google it. When you try to break the cycle, there is what is known as an extinction burst, in which the behavior gets worse before it gets better. Yeah, that makes sense. That's so real, actually. If fussing gets you a preferred object/activity, then you're going to continue to fuss so you get what you want. You don't get to infringe upon others just because your child is mature enough to go out to sit down at a restaurant. There's a reason you don't see many toddlers for eating out. That being said, I guarantee your in-laws were sitting still at a restaurant at 3 years old. I'm going with ESH. You shouldn't have given her the iPad. They should have kept their snark to themselves. You know what? Yeah. Yeah, what the hell was the husband doing, bro? Like, what? And the husband, who believes she should have tried harder, but appears to completely ignore the child that is also responsible for her. Next time kiddo gets fussy, give them to daddy instead of the iPad. Am I the a-hole for donating my roommate's family heirloom to Goodwill? Okay, they say not the a-hole, right? But that sounds like the a-hole right away. But let's read. I've 22F posted here about my roommate 24F before. She has always had issues contributing to the household, including buying things like toilet paper, dish soap, laundry detergent, etc. She also rarely does her dishes promptly or takes out the trash or other household chores, and struggles to pay utilities on time. Sometimes I even have to hound her for the rent. I felt bad at first because she wasn't equipped to live alone, but I've quickly got frustrated and became short with her. We were friends at first, but not so much anymore after I've had to put up with her for this long. Our year-long lease ended, and we have been living month to month since then. Eventually, she got a boyfriend. He lives with his parents, but that hasn't stopped her from spending most of her time at their house. I started seeing her less and less. A couple days into May, I haven't seen her for maybe 2 weeks. I texted and called her to see if she was going to pay her share of the rent, due on the 5th, but she basically ghosted me. I got in contact with her mom, and eventually my roommate reached out to say she's staying with her boyfriend's family for now, and doesn't think she should be expected to pay rent for somewhere she's not staying. I kindly asked if that meant she'd be moving out, but she didn't respond. I paid her rent myself, which was a huge unexpected expense. After that, I decided I was done. I texted her over the course of May and June, asking her to move her stuff out, but she didn't respond to me. Her mom kept promising me that her daughter would take care of it, but she never once got back to me. After July started, I recruited a couple of friends to help me pack up the stuff in her room and donated most of it to Goodwill and the Salvation Army. I also asked the landlord to change the locks, which he did. I don't know about donating to Goodwill, to be honest, because, like, their CEO makes a shit ton of money. I don't know. That's just me. The other evening, she finally shows up and is mad the locks have been changed. I told her she's not living here and doesn't pay rent, so she has no reason to enter the apartment. She got more upset and said that she was never moving out. She was just staying with him for the time being. She told me the situation didn't work out, so she planned to come back and live here again. I told her that she was already off the lease and it's my rental now. She started crying and said she had nowhere else to go, and I felt really bad. She asked if she could at least get some of her stuff. She needed some clean clothes and a shower. I told her that because she never told me she was coming back or made plans to move her stuff out, I donated everything that was in her room unless it looked precious or expensive and stored the rest in her closet. She completely freaked out and threatened to call the police on me. She was inconsolable. She cried about how I even donated her dead grandmother's wedding dress. Oh my god. That, which I had been in a special box somewhere in her room. I apologized profusely because I did. Oh my god, what? That's messed up. Why didn't her mom have that though? That shit, dang. Okay, anyway. I apologized profusely because I did feel really bad, but it all could have been avoided if she had tried to communicate with me. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I told her by July I would start getting rid of things if she'd make plans to do it herself. Where I live, a unit is considered abandoned once they vacate, no rent. The cost of the items being donated will determine how long I need to store them before getting rid of them. I asked her to make arrangements for her things beginning in early May, which she ignored. I emphasized in June that I would be donating her things by July, which she also ignored. Additionally, her mother was aware the whole time and promised me her daughter would take care of it by June 30th, which she didn't. After reading OP's response, I see that she didn't detail her roommate in text that if she did not hear from her soon, she would be start getting rid of stuff. With that in mind, I really don't see what more could have been done here. Exactly how much is a person expected to do when the other party simply ghosts them? Really, it's not fair to continue rewarding such egregious behavior. OP had to pay her share of the rent, for fuck's sake. Where's the outrage about that? I'd be furious if I had to pay for someone else's rent. Then she just shows up and expects to be let back in? I wouldn't even have talked to her until she paid me back for her share of the rent. OP isn't running a charity house or a storage unit, it's rent. You signed a legal document. The roommate in essence told OP to hell with your money. Well, then hell with your belongings. This seems eminently fair to me. I don't bestow kindness on those who treat me like dirt, not the a-hole. Yeah, okay, that's pretty real, honestly. Am I the a-hole for expecting some time with just my husband and toddler and not my in-laws on our Disney World trip? We have a Disney vacation planned in a few months. It will be my in-laws and my toddler, with my husband and me. We'll be there for 9 days. We are paying completely for our portion of the vacation, and we'll have separate hotel rooms. I'm a Disney adult. I love Disney! I'm so excited to be able to take my toddler. It's extremely special for me since I've been going since I was his age. My very controlling mother-in-law is asking for a family vacation. For some reason, because I can't say no, I told her that her and my father-in-law can join. They aren't Disney people and are purely coming to have my family time. My mother-in-law is very bossy and controlling and will just take my son from me and not let me enjoy any of the social moments with him. Brought up to my husband that I'd like some nuclear family time. He says that I'm wrong for just bringing them to Disney and leaving them there when they don't even like Disney or coming just for family time. Am I the a-hole? Yes, mostly because you're a Disney adult, and I hate you now. Am I the a-hole for refusing to go to my sister's wedding because I never got my dream wedding? All while growing, my parents would talk up me and my sister's wedding. They said that their wedding was by far one of the best days of their lives, and they wanted to be able to give that to their kids. So all this time while growing up, they had binders, savings accounts, purely to plan our dream, no matter the cost, we could enact our visions. Fast forward to last year when me and my now wife were engaged, and I went to my parents to begin planning the wedding. They sat me down explaining that COVID and the economy in recent years had disrupted business quite badly, and things weren't looking great, and they wouldn't be able to afford it. I was heartbroken, but I understood, and we instead had a low-key affair. Fast forward to yesterday after my little sister got engaged, my family and my wife and her fiance went out to celebrate, and the topic of the wedding came up, and my mom pulled out the binder and started talking up her wedding, talking about all the extravagant things they would do. I didn't say anything, but I slowly kind of realized that it didn't really make sense that they could afford her wedding and not mine. When we got home, I confronted my mom. She kind of dodged it. Maybe it's for the best you had a more intimate wedding considering the circumstances. I asked what that meant. She shrugged me off. When my sister approached me to ask if I'd like to be the maid of honor, I flat out told her I wasn't going to her wedding and explained why. She got upset and told me that I wasn't making her day about me to grow up. And honestly, at this point, I do really feel like a dick. Now she refuses to speak to me. Am I the a-hole? Edit. People are telling me to add that my sister refused to be my maid of honor because she didn't feel comfortable, as it's important to the context. Bruh. Edit. For those wondering, I have now flat out asked my mom, it's because I'm gay and didn't get the wedding. She told me not to play the gay card, and that if I'm not adult enough to understand that they simply could at the time, then maybe... Oh my god. This person needs to... I hope this person's first language is English, because you need to learn how to type, bro. But, they simply couldn't at the time, and then maybe they should leave family business to me. My sister also felt uncomfortable with the idea of managing my big day with me already upset. Am I the a-hole for throwing poop on my neighbor's car? So some background. My neighbor has a big ass dog. My neighbor has this big ass dog and it's super sweet. I think it's a Great Dane mix and some short. But anyway, I just moved in about 3 months ago and at least 3 times a week, his dog takes a massive dump on my front lawn. I started noticing it and then I caught the dog doing it and yelled at it, and then I went over and talked to the neighbor. And she apologized, said she would keep an eye on him, and it kept happening. I talked to her one more time, and she said it must be happening when I'm not out there, and one day I saw it doing it again. And she was sitting there watching, and I was pissed. And after her and the dog went inside, I went to the shed, grabbed a shovel, scooped up about 5 dumps with, and threw it all over her car. And smeared it in with the shovel. She came over pissed the next morning and called the cops. But hey, now the dog doesn't shit on my lawn anymore. Throw it back in the yard. Don't do property damage. Yeah, I should just threw it in the yard or something, bro. But damn. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. And everyone has a great night. Please comment and like and subscribe. And I'll see y'all next time.